You are now listening to Extracting Wisdom. Here to help you prevent the decay of your future is your host, Brandon Everett.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Extracting Wisdom. My name is Brandon Everett. I just wanted to start off today's episode by saying thank you so much for those of you who tune in week after week and check out the podcast. By you guys downloading my episodes and continuing to listen and interact with me, you really allow me to continue to do what I love to do. So thank you so much. And now let's get into the episode. So the two things I really want to talk about are the first one being just a general life update. And I really want to talk about how life is as a second semester D1. And then the second thing I want to talk about is what I like to call the power of exposure. And I'll talk more about what I think that means or what that means to me in just a second. So second semester has been tougher than the first semester, and obviously that is expected, but the hardest part really is motivation, to me at least. I feel with that really within the last 2 weeks, I have really just lost my energy, really. It's harder to wake up in the morning. It's harder to get into the gym. And I do it. It's just I don't have that normal vigor that I usually do. And I think it's just burnout is what it is. And so what I've challenged myself to do is really start changing up my daily routine, changing kind of how I operate on a day-to-day basis while still being able to maintain my level of productivity and efficiency throughout the day. Because as you guys know, I'm up early every morning. I'm working out. I am doing my flashcards and studying before school starts. So every morning I really try to push myself, and it's a really jam-packed morning. And then I'm off to school all day, and then I'll typically spend, an hour or two in the wax up lab or in the sim clinic or anatomy lab kind of studying or working and developing my hand skills. So really it is just day to day. It's a grind. So that's definitely a big challenge, and especially this snowy Chicago weather doesn't really help either. But that's a whole nother story. And on top of that, the material is kind of ramping up a little bit. The anatomy lab and our hard sciences are pretty steady, the same thing. Obviously, we're learning different material and building upon what we did last semester, but that's not really the focus of this semester. The focus is class 2s and occlusion. Those are the big things that we're learning this semester. And even though class 2s are something new and I'm not the best at them yet, I really like going into the sim clinic and developing my hand skills, putting on my loops and getting my handpiece. It's a lot of fun. And if you're listening to this and you are a dental student or even a dentist, I'd really like to hear from you about what burrs you like using. For me, and obviously I don't have the biggest selection, or I haven't tried a ton of burrs yet. For me, I really like the 329 Midwest burr. I really like the 330, and the 838 Diamond burr are my favorites so far in my very limited experience. But I would like to hear from you. Let me know what kind of burrs you're using for cavity preparations, and I'd love to learn from you. And on the flip side of that, we're doing occlusion. So we've been introduced to the articulator, and we've been having certain waxing projects. So our first project was just a basic wax up with the smush technique or subtractive waxing, which went pretty well. Obviously, occlusion is still a new concept, so I'm still trying to perfect that. But then we have our second project, and we're using PKT wax. And the only thing about PKT wax that I'm not a huge fan of is how sticky it is. I like being able to, like, how easy it is to heat it up and kind of form before it cools, but waxing and carving that, it's so sticky and so hard to get really like smooth contours. If you have any waxing tips or any occlusion tips, please let me know. I'm all ears, so send me an email. And that's pretty much what this semester's been like so far, is just battling to stay motivated and tackle new concepts. But the second thing I really wanted to dive into this episode is the power of exposure, is what I've mentioned before. And what I mean by that is really being hungry to learn more and to learn everything that you can about your future profession and your future career in dentistry. And one thing that I'm doing, or a couple things that I'm doing this year to kind of push the boundaries and learn as much as I can, is, first of all, I'm going to the Chicago Midwinter meeting this weekend, which I'm really excited about. It's my first time. And going to an implant course. And then the other thing, later this year in March, I'm super excited to be attending the Life in Dentistry conference in Lexington, Kentucky. Now, if you are a dental student out there and you're out of state, you can actually get into this meeting for free. You can either message me for details, or you can message the Life in Dentistry podcast guys. They'd love to hear from you, and you can get some info from them. But this is going to be a really awesome opportunity to learn from, the top 1% of dentists they're bringing in, and just a great opportunity to network with other dental students and to be able to form these connections with these top dog dentists. And here's the thing, you have to realize as a future dentist and as a future clinician that dental school is not the end all be all. The one thing that I'm quickly realizing is that dental school will not teach you everything that you need to know or want to know about practice management or the business side of dentistry, or even the newest procedures and the latest technology. Those are all things that clinicians have to be motivated to go take the CE or take the class or go to the seminar or listen to the podcast. You have to realize that we are going to be lifelong learners, and to really learn as much as we can about our profession, because that's how we're going to be the best dentists that we possibly can be. And when I have talked about, and I'm not pointing fingers or anything, but I've talked to certain classmates or other people that kind of look at me with a confused look, is why is a D1 taking a dental implant course, or why are you going to Kentucky for this conference? I'm just trying to focus on studying cardiovascular physiology. And the one thing that I really want to stress is that, again, cardiovascular physiology, although it's important and we must know it, there's so much more to learn and so much more to be gained by going to these different seminars and conferences. And that's really the whole reason why I started to listen to dental podcasts in the first place, is being exposed to these things. Because when you become exposed to these things and you start learning the terms and maybe start learning some concepts at the very superficial level, for example, that's the whole reason why I started listening to dental podcasts. When I listened to Dr. Moody of the Dentist Implants and Worms podcast, I had no idea what a cone beam CT was at the time, or how dental implants were placed. But I was becoming exposed to it and becoming familiar to these terms. So when I started learning these things in dental school, or learning more about them, it all kind of clicked and it made more sense. So the more you can be exposed to things ahead of time, and the more you strive to learn about the things that you aren't totally sure about, the better clinician you're going to be. And in addition to the knowledge, you're also going to be making all of these connections with other dentists or other dental students and other people that know exactly what it's like to be in the profession that you are in, which is so helpful. And there's strength in numbers, and you're going to have so many connections and people to go to when you needed help or when you need advice. So overall, when you push yourself to go to these conferences or events at a very early age, D1, D2, even D3, D4, before you're even a dentist, it's so beneficial, and more beneficial than we can even realize at this point right now. So what I really urge you to do and challenge you to do for 2019 is to try to attend some sort of CE event, whether it could even be an online CE event, or there are tons of dental magazines out there that do free subscriptions. Get a free magazine subscription and start exposing yourself to different dental products or different dental journals, and start reading up on maybe some of the current dental research out there. You're going to be amazed how much better of a clinician you are going to be because of that, and because you expose yourself to these things now and start following these trends and following where the technology is going from now to 10 years from now. It's going to be a huge advantage. So that's really the point I wanted to make in this podcast. Don't be afraid to push your boundaries. Don't be afraid to go to classes or events or seminars that are above your current understanding of the dental field. And even if you're a pre-dental student, like, start listening to some dental podcasts, or get a subscription to some sort of magazine, or do something, because the sooner you immerse yourself in the profession, and the sooner you immerse yourself into dentistry more specifically, just the better off you're going to be, and the more knowledge you're going to have, which will arm you to ultimately be a better dentist. And though the dentists, I can guarantee you this, the dentists that are out there who are in the top 1% are the dentists that are always seeking the newest information, always seeking to learn more, and always seeking to make more connections. So I challenge you to do exactly that in 2019, because ultimately what it's going to do is make you better and make the future of dentistry better. And that's where I think I'm going to wrap it up. I just really wanted to get this episode out here. I know it's going to be a little late. I'm still releasing it on Monday, but not at 5 a.m. It might be more like 6 p.m. today on Monday. But it's been hectic. So thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it. I know this is kind of a more disorganized episode, but I really think this idea of exposure and learning as much as you can about the profession is so important. So that's why I wanted to hurry up and make an episode about it. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. This has been episode number 26, and I will see you in episode number 27. Thank you. Take care.